Morning, everyone, and happy Monday. As you're joining in, if you could please put your name and affiliation into the chat, and we'll get started here in just one moment.
Hi, Michelle. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone, and happy football season slash fall.
Yeah, let's do it, Michelle.
All right. Well, good morning again, everyone. I hope everyone had a lovely Labor Day weekend last week. Today, we are in tune for a great roundtable discussion and also gearing up for our Manufacturing Momentum Summit, which will be held in December. So to dive into more detail, I will pass it to our Executive Director, Matt Bogosian, to expound more. Matt, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Michelle, from the Century Foundation, a longtime BFF. Great to have you on there, and thanks for the introduction. And let's see, Buckley Brinkman up there. Sorry, Buckley, about the Packers there. That was a bitter pill to swallow, I'm sure. You're right, Michelle. Football season has begun. It's September 9th. And for those that are new, this is our 30-minute national call. Happens every Monday, except, of course, like last Monday, the holiday Mondays, we don't do it then. But same time every week, 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central, 9:30 Mountain, and 8:30 Pacific. We're proud to be designated as the nation's manufacturing community of practice, all of us working together, regions and BFFs alike, strengthening the American project by strengthening the cornerstone of the economy, which of course requires a strong ecosystem of support. So, we have this three-lens approach to helping folks prioritize manufacturing industries like defense, energy, transportation, ag, IT, and health. And then, of course, we focus on the regional ecosystems of support. We call those the big six areas. And then the third lens is like, what are we shooting for, which is sustainable development, all at the same time, for more economic prosperity, equity, environmental sustainability, and national security. So it's a tall order. We've been doing this work for more than a decade. And what we've learned, over the years is that these short weekly open discussions about best practices and what it takes to accelerate progress really matters. So there's lots of momentum happening around the country, and we list a lot of it in the weekly AMCC update newsletter. So if you get that, if you don't get it, let David know, David Van Sicklen, our operations director. If you do get it, encourage those in your networks to look at it, add value to it. Thank you, you guys all. Many of you send us information that goes into the newsletter, and it's a shortcut, right? We're all busy in our silos. This is a shortcut to kind of bringing information together that's useful for regions and BFFs trying to strengthen the American project. So, this is a call. Sometimes we have presentations on this quick 30-minute call. Sometimes, like today, it's an informal opportunity for you to share something happening in your region or silo of support. We call these roundtable discussions. So let's kick it off. Like David said, put your name and affiliation in chat, and put it out there. This is a team sport. Raise your hand. If you're new, raise your hand, introduce yourself, tell us where you work, what you do. If you haven't raised your hand, in a while, to share, do that too, reintroduce yourself. That's what this is about. Michelle said we do want to talk a little bit about the Manufacturing Momentum Summit, which is cool, but let's stop here and give folks an opportunity to introduce themselves, and where they work. And has everyone put their name and affiliation in chat? Let's focus on that. That's an easy one. I'm going to the chat right now. Dan Centropolis, awesome. Thank you, sir, for chiming in there. Michael Goff, Northeast Midwest Institute. They're our fiscal agent for this merry band here. If you don't know Michael, wow, you oughta. He also teaches presidential history at George Washington University. Very cool. Yeah, yeah. Um, Lots of good things. So anybody want to introduce themselves or reintroduce themselves? Well, let's see. Sometimes I call on people, say, now, Buckley, I called you out at the beginning because of the Packers, but what the heck do you do, Buckley? Showcase like what a introduction that's like, 30 seconds looks like.
I do almost nothing. No, that's not true. Yeah, I'm Buckley Brinkman. I'm with the Wisconsin MEP. We're part of the National Manufacturing Extension Partnership Network. We're 1,500 really smart people across the country that help manufacturers stay more competitive. Here in Wisconsin, we work with the state of Wisconsin and two subrecipients, and we've had more than $7 billion worth of impact for our manufacturers here in the state. One of the things I'm going to put in the chat is we are moving into a new cycle of our Wisconsin manufacturing report. And we just did some looking back on the past 3 years data and came up with some conclusions or opportunities for manufacturers here in the state that might be transferable. One is around, we think that our manufacturers are a little bit too cost conscious, and that sacrifices some of their ability to innovate. Number two is we're seeing that the manufacturers that are more creative are having an easier time retaining and attracting employees. Number three is automation is becoming more important as the workforce becomes tighter. And then finally, anytime you implement new technology, you're opening up the attack area for cyber attacks. So that's going to be a critical area. And I'll put a link to that report in the chat. So thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thank you, Buckley. Nice showcase, man. That was perfecto. It's great to see a lot of people on here, from around the country. Bijou Matthew in Texas and Adriana from El Paso. Good to see you and Dean Bartles. All right, Dean Bartles, right? So there's this manufacturing institute opportunity out there, and that's exciting. Our friends at NIST are honchoing that. That'll be like we have 17 Manufacturing USA institutes around the country. There's 2 more on deck that NIST is going to honcho, one around digital twins and another around AI in manufacturing. So lots of good stuff. Concept papers are due September 30th on those proposals. That's kind of the first step. There's multiple steps out there. But this is going to be important, right? If we're going to be on the cutting edge in manufacturing, we've got to be dialed on AI. It's the great frontier there, and we're going to need a lot of teamwork. And having an institute that operates effectively to bring AI safely into our manufacturing operations to produce smarter products to solve problems, critical. So it's good to see you on here, Dean.
Matt,
Let's see.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
I don't know why my camera doesn't show my face. It shows my background, but it's not showing my face. I apologize. But you covered it very well. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, you were like one of the early leaders of the whole institute program. You want to say a little bit about that, Dean?
Well, yeah. So the Manufacturing USA program was started back in 2012. President Obama wanted to do something to help U.S. manufacturing. So the PCAST, the President's Council on Advisors in Science and Technology, studied it, went to 4 different parts of the U.S., got all the experts together, came up with this idea of creating this network of manufacturing innovation institutes. The first one being focused on additive manufacturing. The company that I now run actually operates that. It's called America Makes in Youngstown, Ohio. We've been doing that for about 12 years. But then I took an early retirement from General Dynamics in 2014 to stand up the second institute called the Digital Manufacturing and Design Innovation Institute in Chicago. It's now called MXD, but I stood that up from 2014 through 2016 and then left to do other things. So yeah, there's 17 of these institutes now. And as you just mentioned, Matt, Department of Commerce has announced 2 more. There's one focused on digital twins for chips. It's going to be huge, $200 million over 5 years. And the other one is called AI for resilient manufacturing. And my organization, as well as other teams, have formed. But we've got well over 100 team members now, over 30 academic institutions. So anyone interested in receiving a copy of my deck that shows who's on our team and what we're all about. Our concept paper is due at the end of the month, so we're running out of time, but we still have time to grab a few more interested parties if anyone's interested in playing. My email's
Thanks,
in the chat.
Dean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dean put his email in the chat. That's great. And if you haven't yet put your name and affiliation in chat, please do that. It's great to see so many people from around the country and the ecosystem of support on there. Michelle was advertising, one of the things, we're building momentum from the public, private, and nonprofit sector. And one of the things, we talk about this 30-minute call. It's kind of a quick way to stay in touch and build the ecosystem of support around the country, bottom up, towards sustainable development. We also do the weekly AMCC update. That's another weekly tactic, but we do road shows around the country, hoping to be going to Texas here pretty soon. We got a California thing coming up next month. We've been all around the country. We've also learned having an annual summit of some sort where all of the different federal agencies that have some kind of a manufacturing equity, have a place to engage with regional leaders about how those federal interventions, siloed federal interventions, are landing in regions and how we're going to move forward in making progress, for the common goals that we have. And we've had these meetups on occasion. We had one 6 years ago, and I think that had a real great success in leading to many of these bottom-up consortia programs that we've seen. We have Hewat and Seth on here from the Defense Manufacturing Community Support Program. That's an example of one of the outcomes from a gathering we had 6 years ago. We were lucky enough that DoD put together a manufacturing momentum summit last September. That was cool. So we're trying to get to a point where we want to have an annual gathering of this nature so that there can be kind of an open, informal discussion about how we make progress together. And so thanks to our friends at NACO, the National Association of Counties, we are going to have this year's Manufacturing Momentum Summit, trying to get to a point where we have something like this every year. But this year is going to be like we did 6 years ago at NACO headquarters on Capitol Hill in DC, December 12th and 13th. And so mark your calendars. I put a long note in the AMCC update, kind of describing where we are on that. AMCC has a board of directors, the board of advisors that has regional representation, 5 regions around the country. And so we're working with them. We have a weekly meeting. This Wednesday is every Wednesday. This Wednesday, we're going to be talking, trying to lock down the agenda more. But basically, we have limited space. It's great that we have the NACO space, but it's limited. And so, this is invitation only for the in-person thing. So, let us know if you want to get there. We have BFFs that might have some money available for travel. I know some of the programs already, have given consortia, regional leaders money, and some of that money might be able to be used for traveling to the event if you can come. We're going to have virtual aspects of it on the 12th. So no matter what, you can participate in that. It's better in person, of course. And then on the 13th, it'll be in person only. So that's kind of where we are right now. Happy if anybody has any quick questions about it. TBD on a lot of the answers, I suspect, but feel free to ask on that. It's important. It's a diverse group, and trying to stake out not just like what's working now and the challenges that we have. Those are super important. But how do we scale this? Are we going to go on in ad infinitum with these kinds of short-term consortia initiatives? They're good. We need these kinds of pilots, right, to bring trust of public and private stakeholders together. That's really important. but we also want to get to a discussion about, is there, longer term, what kind of a structure do we need in this country to have a more integrated regional ecosystem of support for our key manufacturing sectors. So that's kind of where we are. Let me stop there real quick to see if there's any questions. Another thing I want to talk about after this is next month is manufacturing day, week, month, or whatever. So I want to hear from folks about that too. So let me stop and take any questions or comments about the Manufacturing Momentum Summit, December 12th and 13th.
Matt, you have a question from Ben Cross.
Hey, Ben, welcome. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good, because I'm on my laptop. I'm normally on my desktop where I got nice lighting and all that, but for some reason I don't see my face up here. But are you seeing any video as well?
I don't see video, so,
Okay.
but yeah, it's okay. We hear
Anyway.
you loud and clear. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, okay, very good. Well, I'm actually here with Dr. William Paleo, and we are working on what's a book called The Voltage Valley Revolution, and it's about really manufacturing in the Central Appalachian area. And I also dropped that in the website that we have for the book. And then Bill, in his little introduction, he put a little introduction about it as well. But we think you guys might have some kind of interest in that piece of material that we're putting together. We hope to have published by the end of this year.
Excellent, Ben. Thank you both for that. This is a team sport, so we need as much good thinking about this next step as possible. So much appreciated.
Yeah. It also in that website you can go. There's an article that we wrote. It's about clean innovation ecosystems, lifting distressed communities in Appalachia with clean energy. But even though it is focused on Appalachia, because we're sort of focused on Appalachia, it's the region that we're from, it really applies to whatever region of the country that's around. It's just not, it needs to be exclusive. But anywhere but we're saying basically use clean energy activities that take place to lift distressed communities.
Yeah, no, thanks. Appreciate it. And, and we've seen, there's a lot of literature out there. There's that book, Jumpstarting America, talking about regions around the country, listing the dozens and dozens of regions around the country that are poised, for a manufacturing renaissance, much of which, is going to need to be powered through clean energy. And so, in fact, we're doing AMCC, we do these road shows. We're going to be in California next month with California Forward in an effort, everywhere around the country. State governments are an important part of the ecosystem of support for manufacturers, right? And so some states are really we did a webinar with NGA, the National Governors Association, on this. Some states are really leading the way and saying, hey, we're going to prioritize manufacturing. We're trying to help stakeholders in California nudge their state toward being more full-throated about, adding value to the manufacturing ecosystem. So we're going to be there, next month with the Department of Energy and Zach Valdez at the MESC office, doing a workshop there about what does it mean to operationalize kind of regional clean energy development. And so
we're voice over on.
hey,
Matt.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. I hear you, Ben. Yeah. No, I don't hear you. Okay.
Sorry, Ben, I got you muted right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a
Thank you.
question. So is there any, in our, the first, it's an academic article. So if you guys, it's a long one, right? As you kind of parse your way through something like that. But the question I would have is there any, source of truth around the manufacturing plant? And what are we using to go and say, how is it growing? At what rate is it growing? What are the real numbers, et cetera, et cetera? Now, there's certain government things that I quote in the article, but I was wondering, is there any dashboard that as an industry we're publishing around advanced manufacturing, and then the definition of advanced manufacturing, right? How many industries are we actually going and including that in this next industrial revolution, as we define what this next industrial revolution is? So I'll leave you with that question.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And there is a lot of information, at least from our perspective, about how to define some of the things that you raised there. So, David, why don't you put your email in the chat so they can email us and we can have a longer discussion about that. We try to, we talk about this 3-lens approach. And that first lens is around priority manufacturing industries. Now, I listed them at the top of this call: defense, energy, transportation, ag, IT, and health. That short list is tethered to the White House 2021 reports about supply chains supply chains in America that are going to have to be strong long term. So that's kind of one of the, and that info is tethered to a lot of research. But we can talk more, on a separate call on that. Great. Let's any other questions about the Manufacturing Momentum Summit? So stay tuned, watch the AMCC update for more updates about what happens there. And then we'll be revisiting this next week on the Manufacturing Momentum Summit. So thanks if you for tracking that and putting that on your calendar.
Hey, Matt,
Next
you've
month.
also,
Oh,
we've got
please,
a
yeah.
hand raised from Robert Allen Baker.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Alan.
Yeah, good morning. But just with reference to the question that was just asked, and answer to it, we've gotten much more deeply involved with the Department of Defense with respect to advanced manufacturing, and this has to do with the science and the research and development of new tools in that regard. Both the Air Force and the Navy have considerable investments that they've made in advanced manufacturing from their own perspectives. And then the Navy has today opened up its new program executive office, which is the Maritime Industrial Base Organization, which spans the entire range of production for Navy platforms, with an emphasis on surface and underwater platforms going ahead. And then in addition to that, one of the things that I think a number of people on the call might be interested in, perhaps interested in participating in, is a major initiative launched by NDIA, the National Defense Industry Association. And this is a digital manufacturing working group. The purpose of that working group, which is both has industry participants, academic participants, and government participants, is to try to make sense of the very diverse discussion going on at a variety of levels and ways with respect to digital manufacturing and what it is and what the nature of the practices are. And so that working group is just beginning to sponsor the development of what is being called user stories. So Dr. Mike McGrath is a well-known guy in the Department of Defense community with respect to R&D work, is heading up this working group. And they're beginning to put out the first generation of these user experiences, which describe the nuts and bolts of digital manufacturing going forward. That's probably a very interesting initiative, which will result in a lot of policy issues coming forward. And if people are interested in it, I'll put my email in the chat, and I'd be more than happy to convey some of this information to the working group itself.
Alan, that's a good example. Thank you. So Alan's defense manufacturing community in Southern Virginia focused a lot on shipbuilding, which is the big, we had Scott Paul on here, a couple of weeks ago talking about, their efforts to strengthen our shipbuilding around the country. Some stunning statistics about how few ships we're actually building. So critical for transportation and defense industries in terms of the priority supply chain. So thanks. We get quickly to a lot of detail, and that's the trick, right? Navigating out of the big picture, but then also being able to connect within our silos with the detailed, so people can act on it. Let's turn quickly to, we only have 4 minutes left, the manufacturing month. David, to say a little bit about, it'd be nice to collect as much information as we have of what people are doing for manufacturing day, week, month, so that we can broadcast that. You want to give that message?
Yeah, happy to, Matt. If any of your organizations are leading or partnering with someone else to put on a manufacturing day event or something anywhere through the month of October, and you'd like to share it with us, we can help promote it through the newsletter every week. I've just been building a running tab of people who've sent me stuff in. So if you've got anything, a link is perfect. A link plus 1 or 2 sentences is even better. So thanks in advance. You can just send it to my email. And also, there's, of course, the big event list on the Manufacturing Institute's website. And the NIST MEP has also already put out a big list of all events that MEP centers are going to be connected to. So there's a couple of different places you can go to find things and share them yourself. Yeah, so thanks.
Great, thank you, David. Anybody want to give an example of something that they've got planned for Manufacturing Day or week or month?
This is Mike Eller in Florida. We have a whole series of different plant tours set up, and we also have a major initiative around the FabTech trade show that's happening in Orlando, the 15th to 17th of October. So yeah, there's a lot happening in Florida for Manufacturing Month.
That's great, Mike. Good to hear from you. And thanks, Alan, for dropping that link into the chat so people can follow up.
Right.
And
we
he,
have,
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Dan Radomski here with Centropolis Facility. We have a Manufacturing Day week, a C3 Summit, which stands for Clean Tech, Climate Tech, Circular Economy. It features hundreds of best-in-class climate tech hardware companies, everything from renewables to mobility, electrification, big focus on technologies that are less dependent on foreign sources of materials that go into batteries and e-motors, non-rare earth material tech companies. We have over 50 investors. Department of Energy is going to be there. The assistant to President Biden on industrial strategy is going to be there. The event's sponsored by the America Made Challenge Network, which is a DOE program. It's also sponsored by Breakthrough Energy, Bill Gates' fund. So I'll drop a little information in the chat.
That's great, Dan. Thanks for that. And like with all of these things coming in, I can see in the chat, we'll try to broadcast these things as we go forward. Thanks, Hiwat, from the DoD's Defense Manufacturing Community Support Program for the New Jersey link, and Carlene from Idaho. Great to see you on here, Carlene. Looking forward to getting up there, hopefully sometime later this year or early next year on one of our AMCC road shows. We just have another minute left. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Okay, I'll kick it back to you, Michelle. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Matt. And thank you so much, everyone, for wishing you a great week. And we will see you all back next Monday on September 16th. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks, all.
Bye.